Pandas series is a one-dimensional array-like object of indexed data. We can create a Pandas series from a Python list. Take a look. We can do object and then we can do pd.series like so. And then when we do object, we get this. So we have the values in our series, and then Pandas gives us these indices with each index attached to the values in our series, so that we can do object and then we can fetch. So if you say 3 for instance, and that gives us np.in649. Remember, in our introduction we said Pandas is built on top of NumPy, so I think that's why we get in this structure. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, if this is the case with Pandas, well, it's also the case with NumPy, and you are correct. In fact, we can do import NumPy as np, and then we can do array equals np.array like that. And then when we do array, obviously the structure we get, it's not the same as this, but then we can fetch the values in the element wise by their indices as well. So by their index, so for instance we can do 1, and that's going to return -2. Okay, but then the reason why this is happening, why we get this, it's because, well, this isn't the proper way of creating Pandas series, because we should have specified our index, but because we didn't specify our index, what Pandas did was to assign our series a default index starting from 0 to n-1, with n being the length of our series. So the proper way of creating our series is to do this. We could do obj2 for instance, and then we can do pd.series like this. So we have the first argument here is the array, the Python list, and then the second argument is the index. So when we do this, now we do obj2. So now we have the labels and then the values in our series. You know, we cannot do this in NumPy. Okay, so much like we did here, much like we did when we did object, then what we had is and then we did object. This is 0 for instance, where we fetch with the index. We can also fetch with the label here, so we can do object2, and then we can do a fetch with label b for instance. That should return 4. Okay, so now we return 4. All right, now we can do, for instance, we can do object.array, and then this gives us NumPy extension array, and then this returns the elements, our series, our Pandas series. It says the length is 4, the data type is in64. Remember, we said Pandas is built on top of NumPy. So when we do Pandas series, that is object.array, the return type depends on how the data is stored internally. So our series is backed by a standard NumPy native data type. So in this case, the NumPy native data type is int64. Okay, so we can do more, like for instance we can do objects. So when we do object2 as well, so those are the two Pandas series that we have. still have to. So we can do object2.index. Okay, so this gives us the index, which comprise the labels that we assign to our the elements in our pandas series, like so. So we can create a Pandas series from Python dictionary as well. And but then before we get into that, maybe we should perform some NumPy-like operations on our NumPy, our Pandas series. So this is obj2. We can perform some NumPy-like operations on our Pandas series. Now let's look at that. If we do object2, remember this is object2 now. Okay. So if we do object2.array, it gives us this. So perhaps I should have done object2.array. So we know that this is what we're working with. But in any case, we still get the array that we created before now. So we can do object2, for instance, and then here we can do some filtering with boolean. So we can do object2 greater than, I don't know, maybe greater than 2. So this is going to look at the values in our series array and then return all the values or the elements greater than 2. Okay, so it started from 4, 5, 9, 10, like so, and then it also return the index as well. We can also do object2 multiply by, I don't know, is it 5 now? Okay, so each of the values that we had there. Remember, we also had object dot array. The first one that we created this, so we could do object, for instance, multiply by 2, and then we also get the same thing with the index attached to each of the elements after performing this operation. Okay, now let's have this. We've imported NumPy before now, so we can do something like np.exponential. No, we're performing some NumPy-like operations now. Exponential, we've talked about this before. This is the Euler's number. 718 approximately. So this is so 2.718 raised to whatever we pass here. So if we pass object 2 here, for instance, okay, so we have this operation. So this is another NumPy-like operation that we can perform on our Pandas series. We could also do, for instance, if we do we have B in object 2? It says true, we have it. Whereas, do we have D? No. Do we have F in object 2? That should return false. We don't have it. Remember, this is our object 2. We have A, B, C, D, E. So we don't have F. Now we can create a Pandas series from Python dictionary as well. So we can do data, for instance, and then we can do let's have a dictionary like this, and then we can do, let's say, Lagos. We know how to create a dictionary. I don't know, let's call that 5,000 or 50,000, and then let's do Abuja, and then let's call that I don't know, 30,000. We can do Enugu. Is that Enugu? Okay, and then let's call that, I don't know, should we call that 10,000? So let's stop at there. Okay, now we can do object 3. So that's a third object. we can do pd dot series. Series is called uppercase, and then we can pass this data here. Now this is a Python dictionary, so we're trying to create a Pandas series from a Python dictionary, so we can pass data in here. What am I doing? Like so, data. Then when we do object 3, okay, so now we have our pandas series. So this is our label, label value, like so, and then the data type is int 64. Now we can also let's say this is what we had from the beginning, and then we wish to convert it back to a dictionary. We can do that. We can do object 3 dot to dictionary. I need to get this right. To dictionary. Okay. All right. So this gives us this returns our dictionary, like so. Now, I'm not going to sweat this much. So, for instance, we can also do for if we do, for instance, okay, let's create another object. So I'm going to do states, and then I'm going to do I'm going to create an array of state here. Ibadan, what, just what is let's have Lagos, let's have what else, let's have Abuja, let's have Enugu. Okay, Enugu. All right, so let's have that. Now let's create another Pandas series. So we can pd dot series, like so, and then we can pass 2 arguments. The first one is going to be our data, and then the second one is going to be, we're going to set our index to states that we created now. So we can do states. Hopefully this doesn't blow up. Let's see. Okay, now this blow up. It's a mode pandas has no attribute series. Okay, I think I made a mistake in my typing. So this is a typo. It should have been, sorry guys. Series is uppercase. So this should have been series. Okay. Now let's see what we get. Okay, now if you do obj4, let's see. Okay, now we have a new Pandas series. For Ibadan it says not a number. For Jos it says not a number. Obviously, when we created the new object, this new series, we didn't assign values to these states, so it's returning not a number, like so. Now we can check for availability of a particular value in our series. So we can do pd dot is whether it's available is NA, and then in here we can pass our series object 4. Now it's saying okay, Ibadan is not available, then value is not available, Jos is not available, but all of these are available. Okay, so we can do the reverse. For instance, we can do the reverse. We can do pd dot not NA, then we can pass obj4 here. Okay, so returning false here, and then this we get true, like so. What else can we do? We can look at what if we try to combine 2 series? So we do obj3, I don't know, plus obj4. Let's see. Okay, now we're able to combine. Although for Ibala and Jos, we are having not a number, obviously, because we didn't specify any value for that. Okay. What else can we do? I don't want this to take too long. Maybe we should stop now. Okay. We can also do something like this. We can have a name attribute, and then this name attribute we integrate with other areas of pandas functionality. For instance, we could have object object 4 dot name, and then let's say we call this population. All right, and then we can also have object 4 dot index dot name. Okay, and then let's set this to state like so, and then when we do object 4, now we get this state. So it has nothing. Ibala is still none. Just is still none. Obviously, we didn't specify the value. So now we have a new index name population. D type is the float, like so. Then, for instance, we can have a series index, and then we can alter in place by assignment. Now remember the first series that we created, obj. Okay, so this is what we had in the first place. Now we can do, for instance, we can do obj dot index. Okay, and then let's see, we want to change what we have there before. We can let's call Taiwo Kenny Neka. Let's have one more. Hassan. Okay, like so. Now we can do obj. Check this out. See, we can change. What is it called? We can change the index for our Python and Pandas series as well. I think I'm going to stop here. There is more we could do, but I'm going to stop here for now. And then we're going to be looking at Pandas series much later in the course of our series. So thanks for watching.